Okay, all right, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Ben Scherrey, and my team is here. We're from Biggest Fan Productions, and we've recently dove straight into Bitcoin Cash development, and we're doing a project. So actually, Corentin's last talk, if you saw it, talked about he had this list of things from harder to easier what to do, and the hardest thing was to run a damn local node on Bitcoin Cash. Well, our project is to make it really stupidly easy to run a local node on Bitcoin Cash, but for development purposes, right, is what it's for. So you're not having to download the 200 gig or whatever. You make your own node. Although you could do that if you want. So who are we? All right. So I founded a company in 2008 called Proteus Technologies, and we were a software development group. We were the first agile development group, first Python development group in Thailand for sure, and possibly in Southeast Asia. And we did a lot of software development on interesting projects for other people. And in 2018, we sold the company. And this June, we've started this new company. Well, the name's not new, but the company's new, that we're doing development. It used to be my indie music promotion business back in Atlanta. But so we're still forming the company. Actually, we're waiting for the BOI process to finish, but we will have a new company going. And presently we have 21 people, and 5 of those people are dedicated, experienced crypto developers, and those are the guys that are with me tonight. So our previous focus was Ethereum. We did some really interesting stuff with that. We were pushing the limits of what people had done with smart contracts. We use alternative technologies like Viper rather than Solidity. And actually, a team member has patched Viper at least twice, which was accepted in tier to get better improvements to it. We implemented the first ever skip list to be deployed on the Ethereum blockchain. And a lot of people say, why the heck would you want to do that? If you understand our use case, you would say it makes sense. There's also the ERC 1155 standard to help. It helps especially with being able to discover non-fungible tokens like the CryptoKitty tokens with your wallets, but it can be fungible and non-fungible tokens all managed by a single contract. Our participation in that was primarily to make sure that the standard was interoperable with other languages besides just Solidity, because so much of Ethereum is focused on Solidity. And we are building a new crypto language called Actorforth, which is designed to help create domain-specific languages to make it easier for people to make crypto contracts that are safe and secure, which is not possible to do in Solidity. So, when did we decide to go, okay, we're going to do Bitcoin Cash instead? Has it been 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks?
4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5 weeks. We said, based off of what we did in Ethereum and knowing what the costs are on transactions and the speed that we need, because we want to do some really low cost, high volume transactions, Ethereum ain't going to do it for us. And so we're looking for another blockchain. We still do some back end stuff on Ethereum, but we want to do cross chain systems. And so Corentin actually is the guy who convinced me that Bitcoin Cash was the thing to go, and I think he's been completely right, and everything that we've investigated so far have confirmed that. So what do we need, right? We need high-speed, low-cost transactions. We need to support fungible and non-fungible tokens. So they do have this concept of SLP that's a recent thing and an extension that seems to sort of kind of almost maybe perhaps do what we want. Yes, sir.
SLP?
Simple Ledger Protocol.
Okay.
Is what it stands for. Okay. Wow, I'm surprised I remembered that. And it's an extension to make custom tokens on Bitcoin Cash that are not Bitcoin Cash.
Okay.
So you can make fungible ones and you can make non-fungible ones. Needs good adoption, so it needs to be something that people are using, not an esoteric blockchain. Otherwise, we'll just write our own. And it needs good infrastructure. And this is really where the pain point is. And this is nothing unique to Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. The Ethereum infrastructure is pretty bad too. But the development infrastructure is a little bit better than what we got now. So the state of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash is haphazard and incoherent. And this is not an exaggeration in the slightest. The development efforts and stuff are really random. There's no documentation. even understanding, like what the state of the protocol is, unless you are dedicated to doing it day in and day out, the cost of entry, the barrier to entry to be a real developer into Bitcoin is far higher than it is in Ethereum. And you have to know a whole lot more about the way things work at a lower level in Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash than you ever need to know about Ethereum. Testnet actually is, so like as Quarantine pointed out in his previous talk, and something that we've discovered and confirmed, most developers code against the main net. They're coding against the live system with real Bitcoin Cash, which is just freaking insane because you're blowing real money. I mean, it's tiny money, which is a nice thing that Bitcoin Cash allows you to do this, but it is impossible to reset to a known good state if you're on the live blockchain. And the testnet, by the way, is not compatible with the main net. It's using different protocols and stuff, but it's a crazy land. And they have this thing called reg test, which is when you're running your own local net. Now, as it turns out, almost all the primary software projects that you depend on to do this stuff have broken reg test on purpose. It is actually not allowed to work in it. They've hard-coded stuff to talk to testnet and mainnet throughout randomly, and it would have been really easy to just do some of this stuff as like environment variables. Let's discover those and make things variable that way. But I think part of it has to do, we're discovering this. I'm making assumptions here based on learning. Part of it has to do with the fact that they have made testnet and mainnet incompatible with each other, so you couldn't just replace things with a environment variable because it would break. So that's what we go. And we got these hard-coded assumptions and dependencies in core products, and one of them we just discovered today as we were preparing this very demo. And without repeatable deployment states, real software engineering can't happen. And we're a development group. We got 21 people. We're used to doing proper software engineering. 5 people for a crypto team actually is insanely large. Most crypto projects is one person with some other people doing some stuff for them, and that's nothing to do with even Bitcoin. That's true of Ethereum as well. So we want to help fix this. This is our challenge, right? So what is our goal? Why are we here? Why are we doing this? We want to make access for developers to Bitcoin Cash really stupidly simple. We want to make it very easy to have a working environment locally on your machine that you can start writing code, protocol level code, low level stuff, or high level applications, and just see the damn thing work, right? So we need a coherent operational infrastructure. This is a DevOps project, most of anything else. You're going to make full local nodes that will completely match the main net system or any customization of it. You want to duplicate testnet, or you want to build something new that is some protocol improvements. You can put all that and run that locally, so that Bitcoin Cash becomes accessible for developers. So we want to containerize. We're using Docker, the core tools, the core projects that everyone knows and loves, who is, and lots of these Quarantine pointed out and listed in his previous thing. We are going into the source code and altering it. We even have, was that a sed script that you made? Yeah, so we even have a sed script on one project that just dynamically upgrades the thing. So we break testnet in order to get reg test is what you're doing, right? To do that. And then we're trying to make these change in a backwards compatible way. So we will restore the ability to do testnet and reg test in that. But all these changes we make, we're going to offer back, and hopefully the core projects will allow them to be a pull request that they'll adopt and send upstream. So we want all this effort to go in and help stabilize and make it normal for core products in Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin to be able to support local nodes much easier. So we're making that engineering effort because we need it for our project. All right, so we're fixing our own itch. So that's the thing. We do have a working system. You'll see for some definition of working here in a little while, of core components that are already Dockerized. Who's going to talk about you're going to talk about the infrastructure. Right, so go ahead and come on up here, Slava.
All right.
Want to be next to the space bar?
Yeah, better. So this is basically the whole thing that we got up and running. for some definition of running, of course. And you can see it's actually covering all the levels, starting from the very bottom, which is the node that's been running in the what's so-called regression test node, has been already mentioned, which basically enables you to have it running locally on your machine without exposing itself to the either mainnet or testnet. And on top of that, you'll of course you of course need to make sure all of those fancy tools and libraries can be connected to the node, which makes you willing to also adopt some of the communication channels. Of course, the main one would be the restbitcoin.com library. This is the thing that all of the like you see Bitcash, the Quarantine just mentioned. It basically also uses exactly the same set of APIs that are actually talking directly to the Bitcoin Cash Unlimited. Basically, and so making this thing connected to our node actually enables us to make all of the fancy libraries and tools up and running already. But apart from that, so this would be considered as a bare minimum to start the development, of course. But on top of that, you will of course may want to do some domain-specific tasks like SLP development. All right, we have been really focused on working with the SLP tokens. This is why we wanted to have a wallet, a proper wallet. But the wallet doesn't simply talk to the node itself. It talks to something called a Electrum server, and Electrum server also talks itself to the node, and this basically what enables the SLP wallet working. But you'll see for some reason it's inside, and this was the primary reason we chose Bitcoin Cash Unlimited. First of all, because it's fast and implemented in C++, and the other competitive advantage of that is it has Electrum server embedded in it. And more importantly is that this Electrum server is called Electrus, which is the implementation in Rust, which makes it real fast, and it's much faster than the original implementation of Electrum server, which is called Electrum X. And it's built in and plug and play to the node. So it's a much better choice. But on top of that, you can have some indexers like SLPDB, and you can connect to some fancy front-end application to SLPDB to query your domain-specific information. Like in our case, we're querying all of our SLP tokens there, basically. So this is basically this whole thing took us a few weeks, and we got all it up and running. And surprisingly, it required a little bit of patching inside of basically every component, because those are adapted to work only with either main or testnet, and neither of those really works well with the rect test. So it required some work to make this whole system communicate well. And let's see at an example of a kind of issue that we used to face every day, and we found one today. So and this is the issue, exactly the one that we faced today, and it got opened on the October 31, 2018, and it just got closed because it was 4 months after it just got. And please reopen if you still like it, this address, and yeah, it just got closed. But actually, it's a really important issue, because surprisingly, not all the RPC calls are being made straight to the Bitcoin Cash node. Some of the calls are being done through something called an inside API. And inside inside API. And this is yet another thing that you need to get patched, or you may want to patch this one to make all 100% of all the API calls working fine and nicely. And and this is basically kind of it. If you have any more specific question regarding the whole architecture, and
Are there any architecture questions before we move to a demo?
Yeah, if you have any, yeah.
So your software packs all of this in like a Docker Compose.
Of course, and of course, it's all Dockerized, super portable, and it's
okay.
and it all boot us up within a single setup script. So
how many Docker containers do we have now? Just consistent?
quite a few, quite a few. I think it's
4 or 5?
four, I think, major. So one for the node, but if you, of course, you may want to have your own separate Electrum X server, and this will be yet another Docker container. But one for Bitcoin Cash Unlimited, one for the REST service, one for the SLPDB, and specifically one for the Mongo, and one for the SLP serve service. And yeah, that's kind of it. The wallet is a Qt application, so it doesn't. It's not packed into a container. It just runs on your machine, basically. Yeah.
We've got about 4 Docker containers running.
So,
or 5, and then of course the supporting ups. Basically everything that's below application level is in a Docker container.
Yeah.
Except with Insight, because we just discovered this stupid thing today.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure out what we're going to do about that.
And one funny thing is that we also found a couple days ago we found a bug in the Bitcache library, and we're gonna submit a pull request today, tomorrow, and that we found out that the API calls some operation. I think it's regarding the acquiring the road transaction. So it's basically calling to a weird API.
Bitcore.io.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
One for pre-printing and one for raw. But, but it's going the wrong direction. It's actually going the wrong way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually going the wrong way. And that specific API is keeps it always returns you 404 on the test net. It's kind of most of it for the whole architecture of what we have up and running. If you have any more questions on that.
Let's do the demo.
Okay.
And then we'll show our roadmap.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Roadmap to secret. Everyone has to sign non-disclosure first.
Thank you. I'll pass my word.
You guys want a chair? You want to grab a chair? We're gonna be like quarantine. You can coach standing up.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Nick, by the way. Is everyone ready for a demo?
Yeah.
Let's jump right to it then. Well, first off, this is our GitHub repo for now. I believe we're supposed to be making this public, so everyone should be able to try this stuff out soon-ish, whenever we get that publicized. But to talk about what's in the repo, after you clone it, why is that not centered? After you clone it, if you want to run a local node, again, this is not a mainnet or a testnet node, this is an entire blockchain on your local computer. The scripts are as simple as typing setup, which I'm not going to run because the internet, I don't know how fast it is here and it would take a while. You run setup, and then after it's done setting up, you do run, and then you can either do it with the wallet app or you could just run only the server. That's it. So let's say that you decided you wanted to run the wallet app. We'll see what happens in just a moment. Part of the server is when you're on the mainnet, you have this REST API that you have all these different, whether you're using Bitcache or the JavaScript like Bitbox or SLP SDK, it's going to call these REST APIs on the rest.bitcoin.com. Our local node, after you run that setup command, you will have the exact same thing running on localhost on some random port that we chose. For testing some of the, because we're looking towards some of these SLP tokens and stuff, so this setup script also includes a patched copy, or it downloads a copy of the Electron Cash SLP wallet and patches that to work on the local node, because by default it doesn't exactly work. So this is what that wallet looks like. And here you can see I've sent some money around. We stretch this out. I don't know how big that is. If we go to view, I don't have any coins created, but if I wanted to create some SLP tokens, wrong one, tokens. If I wanted to create some SLP tokens, I could just go through here, create it.
Could you zoom in at all?
Not because the Qt application won't zoom in. Sorry, but I'm not going to actually demo creating a token unless you guys want to see it. But this all works on the local node. You can take my word for it. Moving on.
This is a trustless system, right?
Yeah, exactly. Moving on. One thing that we do have to demo is this raw transaction, because we don't have the Insight API quite working, so we can't use all the functionality of the Pi Bitcash and the Bitbox. So one of the things that doesn't need Insight is just sending a raw transaction. So here we have a handcrafted raw transaction that's going to send 999 Bitcoin to somebody. And to run this, node thing, we're just going to do send hex, and it should give me an error. It should give.
Did you already run it? Did you already run it?
No, this was a new one. I ran the last one and it worked. Something's wrong with the new one. Hold on. Oh, let me see if.
You didn't put the.
Let me make sure I pasted the right raw transaction real quick. Send hex. Okay, well, this raw transaction was badly formed. I don't know who made this, but what definitely wasn't me.
It says mempool conflict, so maybe you already sent it or something.
That may be something like that.
You already sent that transaction.
Yeah, mempool conflict is already.
Okay,
I don't
well,
know.
the great thing about the mempool conflict is the fact that the last time I did it, it worked. So it does in fact work, and it works using these.
Can you blow it away or run setup?
Blow the setup away? Yeah, sure. So here's.
That'll reset your node, right?
Well, then I have to handcraft another transaction, which
Oh, damn.
I can do that, but it's going to take a minute or two if you guys want to see how to handcraft raw transactions. It's not the funnest thing in the world.
How do you handcraft it? Do you have a tool or you do it?
So
Because Bitcash does actually it shows you the hex directly, but yeah.
well, it would show you the hex, but the problem is that it needs to use the other APIs for getting the UTXOs and the balance and stuff like that. So what I used to do that is this Bitcoin CLI create raw transaction command that runs directly against the node, and it's not necessarily an API call. It's a function that comes from the node itself that lets you create certain types of transactions.
Can you make some transaction work against our node, or our demo, or not?
A raw transaction or just anything?
That transaction, make the node do something besides tell you your mempools.
All right, so let's see what accounts.
Pressure.
Or just like show.
Sister job.
All right, so we have a few accounts on here. It looks like I have over 1,000, so let's see if I can't send even more to myself, because money's always nice.
You might not have a job soon. You'll need it.
Oh. So I can actually create a new account here, or a new. Yeah, they have this concept of accounts with addresses with them. So we'll create. How do you spell your name? CORENTIN. Okay, you're about to get some. Oh, so one interesting thing about running your local node is that here I've just sent 1,001 Bitcoins to Quarantine's address. But on the mainnet and the testnet, you have to wait for those transactions to get mined by miners. In my case, I can just generate one block, and now that will have been mined, and that transaction is now legit and everything.
So where did you send the 1,001
from? So there's this built-in wallet in the node that if you, for example, when I'm generating blocks, that money just goes to this built-in account. And so when I'm doing send to address, it's taking it from that built-in account and sending it to whoever. Another option I actually could do is generate to address here, and I could put Quarantine's address in there, and I think the number comes after. I can generate, say, 10 blocks. Wrong way around. Okay, I can generate 10 blocks, and now all the funds from generating these blocks have been awarded to you. You're now a Bitcoin miner.
So I'm going to be talking about what we're doing this. Well, what are we going to do with this technology in the future? Because there's clearly pain points we still have to solve. In particular, we have to solve the ability to be able to do nodes locally and run tests locally. We want proper software development. We want to be able to have reproducible tests, bit level tests. I'll be talking about this. So we want to use tool that everyone uses these days, like continuous integration, deployment infrastructure. We want to be able to have this sort of thing brought to the crypto world more. And we want fixtures so that we can automate tests. So if we have some sort of complicated transaction system where we want to test swaps and so on, we want to be able to reproduce this locally. And also we want to do some sort of time travel where we want to, let's say we want to start from this known state and we run some tests or something and we want to revert the state. So currently this is not possible, obviously on the testnet and mainnet, because there's a sort of global progression. So but if it's local, then we can do anything we want. And we want to test new protocol implementations so we can check backwards incompatibility. So if we looked back at a little bit of this sort of system overview, we can see that there's sort of there's these different protocols and there's these different things. And as Slava mentioned, we can change the sort of Electron server to another sort of server. So we want to be able to do this sort of plug and play thing system-wide. We want to be able to test different components with sort of different setups. We also want to control entropies. So this is an idea we thought about, that because the hashes are generated randomly, this affects our ability to be able to actually test things from bit by bit. So we want to find a pinpoint where the randomness is coming in, sort of pin it down, do a deterministic random number generator, so that we can really, really do reproducible tests. And
development and test purposes only. That
right.
would be ever deployed.
Right. Do not use this live, obviously, right? But the idea is that you test this, and then once you test enough, then you can progress to mainnet instead of burning money. Instead of burning money, failing to have reproducible tests, all that stuff. And so here's where you can find our project. We have a Gitter channel that's pretty active, where you can see our team discussion very transparent. We want to be as transparent as possible. We have various repos on the Octaforth organization, including our upcoming smart contract language that's currently being developed, EVM assembler, and our Bitcoin toolkit is not public yet. We're still working on improvements to it, and eventually will be. And in 2018, Ben gave a talk on sort of the state of the crypto ledgers and Ethereum and sort of the problems that they face. So you can see sort of his predictions, and which pretty much are bang on. It's the situation is still quite dire in both blockchains. So this is what we want to fix going forward. So yeah, that's it. Any questions regarding roadmap? Yeah. Okay.